Hello and welcome to the Path of Consorts. I'm Taki'h.
And I'm Timo.
So this is finally the last part, the fifth part of
Yay.
our series, yay, on we don't fight, so what do we do? How to avoid fighting. So this is something that's come up in some of your feedback and some of your questions, either questioning if that's really true or wondering, okay, well, how can we get there? Because that's kind of unheard of. So one of the things I'd like to do in this video is to define what we mean by fighting and how we define fighting. So when we thought about doing this series, one of the things we wanted to do was deconstruct all the ways we avoid getting to fighting. So what's there in order to not get to that point. And then also, what does it mean to fight? So does it mean that we don't get angry? No. Does it mean we're not triggered?
No.
No. Does it mean we don't get hurt or feel pain?
No.
No. So it doesn't mean that we're not human. So how do I define fighting? And this is what we came to an agreement with, is that fighting is when it's me against you. That's the best way to describe it. Me against you or you against me. We are now on opposite ends of a spectrum and we are going at each other. So we're not a team.
We're not a team, and we're not using opportunities to grow.
And to go in, to learn about ourselves, to say, oh, what does this say about me? Yeah, none of that is happening, but it's me against you. And so in that space, I believe you're going to hurt me, or you have the intention to hurt me, or you want to hurt me. So referring to previous videos about what trust means, that I trust, when I say I trust you, it means I trust you you don't have the intention to hurt me. It doesn't mean I don't get hurt or I don't have feelings, but it means that you don't have the intention to cause me harm. So when I lose that, when I drop that, and I really look at you and I'm like, you're gonna hurt me. So I'm going to create defense mechanisms, strategies, pull up my protections to avoid getting hurt. Of course I will. I want to survive. It's normal. It's human. It's our animal part. So one is I believe you want to hurt me, and the other side of it is I actually want to hurt you. You've pushed some button in me that now I want to teach you a lesson, or I want to put you in your place, or I want to attack. And that's a form of defense. Before you can attack, I want to hurt you. And of course, it's not done consciously, and it's an automatic pattern, and it's all about the subconscious. Yes, yes, yes. But this is what's playing out. So let's bring it out into the light. Let's bring what's happening in the shadows out into the light. I believe that you want to hurt me, and or I do want to hurt you. I have some intention of stinging or biting or maiming. So of course, then those defense mechanisms and those protections come up, and those the attacking. And in those moments, you can say things and do things that really create scars. And it's you often have those things like, oh, I wish I could take those words back, or I wish that I hadn't done that or hadn't said that. It's those are those moments where you've dropped love and presence, refer to previous videos, you've taken it personally, you've both taken it personally most likely, and you are in a me against you survival, protection, defense strategy. And when we sat and thought about it, okay, if this is definition, and I'm acting it out, right? It's an experience that we're having. Like, it's not just thoughts in my head, but like we're going through those movements. And when we talked about it, we asked, have I ever felt that you actually want to hurt me? And my answer was no, not in this, no, not in the time we've been together. I have never ever come to that conclusion that Not even for a moment, not for an instant have I ever thought. And you
No.
also, yeah. And have I ever wanted to hurt him? Have I ever felt so cornered or so um, whatever, hurt, teased, angry, frustrated, whatever, that I wanted to hurt him intentionally? That no, I've never reached that. And you
No.
also, yeah. So this is our definition of fighting. And so what happens? Okay, so let's assume that you've missed all those previous steps of emotional clearing and low level anger and collecting stamps and needing to be right. So all those things you've actually missed opportunities of stopping it. And now you've both taken it personally. So that's another foundation requirement. You've both taken it personally, and now what happens? Right. So
there's still steps to pull out.
Yeah, there's still saving grace. Yeah, there's still resources that you have, but it does become harder. So that's why this is the last video. So I can recognize that that's what's happening in me, because I start to shrink. I start to feel this person is unsafe. I start to go numb. I start to maybe get foggy in my head or in my sight or in my hearing. I start to lose connection with reality as it is.
You might be picking up some body emotion that you have trained yourself to associate with a certain wound or a certain pattern that you go to. You start feeling that.
The body sensation and the emotions attached to that. Yeah. And so these are all indicators that, okay, I'm going into me against you, you against me. We've now gone at opposite ends and we're having a face off. So to recognize, okay, this is where I'm at. Things have already escalated, or it happened so quick. In theory, probably not in reality, but okay, that's what I can see, that I'm already in it. Now what do I do? So one thing is to catch yourself when you're realizing, like, oh, I'm shrinking, I'm backing off, I'm starting to get, the fumes are coming from my ears and hot blood is rushing to my head and heartbeat is accelerating and breath has accelerated, all these things. In that moment, I hold back. I do not act from this space, and I go back through those different stages that we've led you through to get to this 5th video, which is I go and emotionally process myself. I go and do emotional hygiene. And then I look at where were the low levels of anger and stuff that was simmering, and I start to realize, like, oh, like all of this. And I'm looking in. So I need to disconnect from the fact that this is the trigger of my whatever experience. And I need to go in, and I need to take care of myself and feel first and foremost.
And for me, it's really supportive to be able to, at that point, to speak those out, even before doing anything, is to like, okay, just start speaking out what's happening in me, and that brings me enough out of it.
Right. So to start, saying like, okay, I'm starting to contract, I'm starting to get foggy in my head, I'm starting to want to attack you, I'm, whatever, speak it out, bring your experience out into the light. And if this is a loving, conscious relationship, then perhaps your partner in that moment can come also back to some form of presence, even if you both have taken it personally, and realize that you're opening a door. So in those moments, of course, it takes great vulnerability, it takes great trust. And so what's going to be your motivating force? And this is something we also discussed, that for me, the only thing, because it feels like I have 100 stallions going at full speed ahead, and like I'm going to either attack or whatever. And how do I hold myself back? So for me, it's always been that I need to recognize that this is poison. This is poison for me. It's not in alignment with my commitment to myself, to love, to truth, to freedom, to integrity, to presence, to whatever your commitment is. Because in those moments, that's what's being tested, that I'm out of alignment and I'm going to hold myself back, not for you, not as any favor or not, because in that moment, I don't like I'm not in myself, and in that moment I'm hating you. Yeah, so I can't do it for you. I've got to do it that I need to come back into alignment. I need to come back into integrity. This is not healthy for me. And so this has been the only, that no matter what victory or what triumph or whatever would come out of this, it will not be what I really want. It will not be that truth or that integrity or that freedom or that which I'm committed to. So that's what's held me back.
Yeah, for
And
me,
and actually, I thought this was the only way. Like in my groups, I taught that that you can always count on this, and this is the one last saving grace that you can that this do it for yourself. That this is not in alignment, and this is the only way that you can pull back those 100 stallions, because I'm highly individual, and so and I'm highly about discipline and center. So that's I thought this was the only way, until I met this beautiful being who taught me that there's another reason and another great force that can hold those 100 stallions back.
yeah, for me, if I've I've missed that I'm getting triggered and I am so foggy in my head that I can't even speak it out because it would come out as something more, that I really need to distance myself from the situation, is then it's like I'm a pretty much mush in my head. So there isn't a like what she has, there isn't a path of actions that I can take and even think of this is gonna hurt me or something. I'm not capable of that. But something that I can do is that I can feel in that moment, I can feel that this is off, this is gonna hurt us. Like this is gonna hurt us so bad that I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna leave. And that saves me.
So he resorts to that I don't want to cause pain to us. He resorts to love. That's the great force that holds back those 100 stallions, and that's been my lesson. Great lesson, and it's my greatest teacher on love. And so whatever you can hold on to, whether it's your integrity and your survival of, I will not be dragged down to here because I know I'm eating poison, I'm swallowing poison for myself, or whether it's love, hold on to it. And even if you have started to express, even if you have started to say things and act it out, you can still stop. You can still come back to zip it, stop, remove yourself from the situation, because at that moment, that person, their presence is too much. Going to another room, going to the bathroom, whatever, the cleaning closet, wherever, going to the car, just remove yourself from the situation and look in and reconnect in whatever way you can, and then go through the process you need to go through and feel and admit and own and take responsibility and all the stuff that's in the previous videos, this series, and the previous foundational videos. So this is how we avoid fighting. It's taken us all of this to tell you. The closest we've come was in Egypt. This past December, we were there for a month together, and about halfway through, or no, third week in, there was a situation, a small little thing, but I was feeling really sensitive and overwhelmed by all the stuff that had been coming up, not between us, but I was holding 3 groups, 1 week long, each one back to back. And I just felt like I didn't have any space for myself at that moment. And I wanted to feel like I was being taken care of, or I was being supported, because I felt that I was giving so much and I wasn't taking enough time to resource myself. So that was my mistake. And that's how I was not attending to my emotional hygiene. And so then he didn't do something that then led me to conclude that, okay, he's not there in support. And then I said something, he said something, da, da, da.
I went into my wound that I'm not being appreciated.
Right.
It's my favorite one.
All right, so that he has this wound that he's not being appreciated. And so I went into my wound of I'm not important, which is my one still outstanding one. And then we both backed off and we went into silence. We didn't say that to each other. We didn't say, okay, let's just not say anything right now. Like nobody had to, we didn't have to do that. We just both sat in silence on the bus with 15 other people and waited and waited and waited. And I think we waited 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And it was a very long 10 or 15 minutes. And it was the longest, this was the closest we've ever come to fighting that, like, wait.
Disconnection.
Yeah, the disconnection.
No love at all.
We were just both in our wounds at the same time, and that had never happened before because we don't have matching wounds. But we had still not reached the stage of you're against me or I'm against you, or I want to hurt you. We still had not reached that stage, but we were miles apart. And so after those 10 or 15 minutes, we just reached out. We were sitting next to each other on the bus. We're just and we just held hands, like, okay, the body, like, okay. And then I think we both eventually just apologized that, hey, this is what was coming up for me. I'm sorry. I was being really sensitive. Or, yeah, and this is what was coming up for me. And there was just a sigh of relief. Yeah. Yes, it was just a sigh, deep sigh of relief that those 10 minutes were eternal of feeling disconnected and separate from you. Don't want to be relived, even though we spend like a month apart physically. Like that's not, we were not disconnected, but those 10 minutes sitting next to each other on the bus, we were the farthest ends of the galaxy from each other. And that was extremely painful. And it was in that moment afterwards, after we apologized and came back to connection and to love, that we said, okay, what happened? Let's dissect that. Where did we miss? And we started to look in and to learn from it, to do what we say that, we recommend that you do. We invite you to do, which is to learn from every opportunity. So thank you for joining us on this series. We hope that it has helped you, and we'd love to hear from you on further questions. We'll answer them, and also to hear from you on how maybe this has helped you shift things around in your dynamic if you have been fighting and wish to fight less or not fight at all. And again, bottom line, you do not have to fight. You can be in a relationship, and as long as there's presence and love, it does not have to end up in a fight. There can be feelings, there can be emotions, there can be pain, there can be hurt, there can be many things. But it does not have to be me against you, and it does not have to lead to fighting. That's a myth. And people have the misconception that because we don't fight, then does that mean like there was no passion in our life? And the spark that you need the fighting in order, that's an indicator, or that leads to then like, great lovemaking, or like some, to have that spice in your life or spark in your life. And no, you don't. We have lots of spice and passion and incredibly hot sex and everything in between, and we don't fight. So hope this helps you. Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear from you. Our best wishes on your path to love and your relating as consorts, if that is what you have chosen for yourself in this moment.